thanks everybody for coming to this July meeting. I don't even know which number meeting. I think we're, yes, Kathy sounds like Terry Gross. I think that's a nice compliment, Kathy. Yeah, we started this club in September of last year. So we are approaching a 1 year anniversary. And it's wonderful to have everybody on here. So we did talk about offline and some comments and feedback. I thought this was a great one. Even if we have a little smaller group, we don't want to take up a lot of time with introductions. Thank you for putting where you are and where you're from in the chat. That's awesome. If the first time you speak, you could just say your name and where you're from and what you do there, that would be cool. But otherwise, it's awesome to have everybody here. This month, we read the Accidental Library Marketer by our own Kathy Dempsey. So Kathy, group member and author, very, very happy to have her here. So let me just give you a quick overview of the meeting that we're going to do today. So, and by the way, I'm Chris Bovin, Jacksonville Public Library. As we're talking today, just jump in, raise your hand, whatever works for you. If you want to use the raise hands in Zoom, we'll try and keep an eye on that. But, be respectful of people, but please jump in. I'll introduce Kathy. We'll get a little synopsis of the book that I'm going to deliver in front of the author. So that should be great. And then we'll just talk a little bit about the book. At the end, we'll wrap up real quick. If you stay till the end, you get a chance to win a copy of the book that's next month's book, which is 18 Minutes by Peter Bregman. So stay to the end if you can. We'd love to have you to the end. And then afterwards, you'll get a survey, as all good marketing has, so we can keep a tab on the results and everything else. So first, let me introduce Kathy Dempsey. So Kathy's the author of The Accidental Library Marketer, the selection for this month. We are really, really fortunate to have her as part of the group and very fortunate to have her here. I know she's excited about going on vacation coming up next week. Kathy founded her own marketing consultancy, Libraries Are Essential. And Kathy's work is dedicated to helping librarians and information professionals promote their value and expertise in order to gain respect and funding. So Kathy's here for all of you, all of us. Kathy's been the editor of Marketing Library Services for 27 years, and a wonderful newsletter, by the way. Recommend highly that you go and subscribe, and was formerly editor-in-chief of Computers and Libraries magazine, which you may be familiar with. Kathy was a founding chair of the Library Marketing Communications Conference, which, little plug, coming up soon. I don't get any money out of it, but it's coming up soon. And if you haven't been, it is such an awesome conference. It's virtual this year. Kathy has been running the show, or she ran the show from 2015, the first year I went, through 2017. Kathy is a longtime member of the New Jersey Library Association and currently on the executive board of Library Link NJ, which is a statewide co-op. Kathy earned the title Certified Digital Marketing Professional just this year. Congratulations, in 2021. That is awesome. So Kathy, writer, editor, marketing maven. She gives presentations for 25. She's been giving presentations for 25 years, still gives presentations all the time. She always sprinkles them with humor, makes them so much fun, and makes marketing concepts more interesting and accessible. Kathy continues to fight the stereotypes that librarians are boring and marketing is a dirty word. And one more little thing that I know about Kathy is that she recently presented for my library system for Jacksonville Public Library. She helped when we were reforming our learning services department, and Kathy did that while just around that time, a tree had fallen on her house, I believe, or yes. But throughout her presentation, she never mentioned it, never said anything. We knew behind the scenes, but she was an absolute consummate professional, and everybody just had a wonderful time and learned so much. So welcome, Kathy. So great to have you here.
Chris, thank you so much for that lovely introduction. And I'm really happy to be a guest on your show, WKRP in Jacksonville. Thank you. Glad to see a few people here old enough to get that joke. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, exactly. Oh man. But yeah, Kathy, we're really happy to have you here. This is great. The book is so just it really touches you as a marketing person in libraries. So I'm really looking forward to talking to it. So if you will, I will go ahead and give you my quick summary of the book. So, if some of you, this is in case this was suggested, in case some of you maybe didn't get time to read the book yet, it is available in hardcover and in a Kindle version too. So, so you can get it digitally right away. A lot of libraries have it in their catalog, and it's a great one for libraries to have in their catalog. But yeah, so but if you didn't get a chance to read it or finish it or read it a little while ago and need a refresher, I'm going to try and give you a little synopsis. So first thing Kathy starts out with is, what is an accidental marketer? Basically, she's got the question in there, how did we get here? So talking a little bit about what that experience is like, of pretty much the way that I saw it in there was, if you are nice and helpful and have a little bit of technical knowledge, you're probably going to fall into marketing if you're in a library. So then she kind of goes through this really nice path from marketing, where she starts with a real intro level of marketing and just starting with the very beginnings of what is marketing, and goes all the way through to really the expert level, and actually experts themselves kind of giving their feedback on marketing. So, so we can talk a little bit about that. Then this part I thought is one of the things that is extremely necessary. And I love seeing it whenever I do. The next part is, okay, you know what you're doing. How do you get everybody else on board? So how do you get your director on board? How do you get budget? How do you kind of get people so that they are understanding what the purpose of what you're doing is and how you share your message? She gives you a really nice formula for a marketing plan and how you do planning, and then talks about the marketing cycle and, what's that all about. So kind of from Genesis to all the way around to results, and then starts back over again. So, so you get a look at that. Next part of the book really talks about promotion, and what, from design to production to distribution, and it includes everything from print, digital, just crafting your message and how to use your website. So it's got a really nice toolbox for how to do the promotion part of marketing. And after that, I think, yeah, that's when we go right into ideas, what I characterized as ideas to steal and timeless case studies from the library marketing world. So this includes all kinds of really cool things that you could do pretty easily, and a lot of them pretty cheaply at your library. A great way to get people engaged. So, it's really a not miss section of the book that talks all about, how other libraries are applying these concepts, and it's a great way to spark ideas. It would be a great way for you to meet with your teams if you're lucky enough to have a team, and maybe your administrators, and share some of these cool ideas to get people going. So last but not least, there is an appendix, and in the appendix there are 3 really wonderful articles. One is about planning, and it talks about, again, kind of what is the basic way to put together a communication plan. And one is about design. So it's, kind of design principles. So if you are new to this, or people you're working with are new to this, or you have, something that people are using out in the field, great way to get some very basic design principles that are really effective. And lastly, there is one about the difference between, or the, promotion alone or marketing. So what is just promotion? But there are these other 3 P's that often are overlooked as far as marketing. So so that is a lot of information that comes in this book, but it's put in a really it's very easily digestible. I've found really easy to read, with so much really inspiring and interesting content that comes out. Yes, no one steals, we share. So yes, and we can share with one another. And there are some very shareable things in this book for sure. So, so Kathy, how'd I do? That's kind of a summary of the way that I looked at it.
Chris, I think you did better than I would at this point, because I haven't read this for a while. No, but that's good. And I really, I mean, I wanted this to be really a primer for people who hadn't done this sort of thing before. And I did want to say one quick thing about how it came to be. The publishing company that I've worked at forever, Information Today, which also publishes marketing library services, they had asked me to write a marketing book a couple of times, and I really did not want to get into a project this big. But then they started a series of books, these accidental books. Mine is not the only one. And the marketing just fit in so well because so many people started doing this, just to be helpful and nice, and then they got stuck with it forever. So the other books in the series, there's an accidental library manager, accidental fundraiser. I think there's an accidental IT person. I'm looking for some other ones. But there was a whole series of accidental things, which the company wanted them all to be kind of A to Z primers about, if you don't have any background in this, here's everything you need for background in one spot. And when that opportunity came up, I kind of couldn't say no to that. So I was very happy to be part of the accidental book authors.
Yeah, it fits really well. I mean, it is, talking to a lot of people, and then people that, have joined this group and have become, part of this wonderful group. Many have had so many of the same experiences and fallen into things. And I think it's hard for anybody to not really identify with being helpful, and then suddenly, okay, well, now this is what I do, I guess. So what, what did, just to start it off, anybody what does somebody want to share that they liked about this book? What kind of things did you like about this book?
Kathy, thank you so much for writing this book. It truly fell in my lap. This was one of the first books I got from our local public library, and we ended up purchasing it for our own copy. It's been a while since I've read it, but it sticks out in my head that if I ever had a question and I need to go back and refresh, your book is one of the ones that does it. The funny thing is I did a little bit of advertising, when my husband had his own business. So I would help with the logo a little bit there. It was Hagen's Handyman, and the H's ended up being a ladder. And when I worked at Reed Smith, they're a law firm, their logo had to do with a lion. So the marketing department was right around the corner from us, and I had the back of the computer being a law book spine, and then the mouse was a lion's tail. So I've had a lot of fun with this, and I got to work with a local company to come up with our logo. I had started out with and I think branding is so important because people just don't know who you are until you almost have to shove it in their faces, which is a shame. But it's one of the things that they don't teach you, or maybe they do now in library school, but they certainly didn't when I went. We used the scales of equality and used Allegheny County, the A in Allegheny County as one of the scales, so one of the sides of the scale. So, it just is like, that's been the fun part. Of course, the other part is, I've had even people say that they don't even look at the newsletter. They don't even open it up. And sometimes I feel like right now, maybe you can help us with this, and I'll shut up. And that is that we are so inundated, all of us, even librarians are inundated with information. And after a while, it's like, how many am I going to open? You get sick of it after a while, I'm sorry to say. So how do you leverage your what I want to say, your visibility and information? We may not do a whole lot from one month to the next. but you still want to kind of be touching base and say, we're still here, we're doing this. I just sent one, and I'm truly shut up. I just sent one because our air conditioning wasn't working for a while, but I didn't say it was fixed. I said, if you need a cool place and quiet for you to study, come here. And we did have a couple of people come in because of that. But it was like, I'm not admitting that the air conditioning went down because they're going to think it's going to happen again. All right, I'll shut up now.
Oh, that's a very good story, Laurie. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely something we've all felt. Yeah. Trying to deliver a positive message in the face of something negative. So yeah, it's definitely good. But yeah, how many people here would consider themselves accidental library marketers? Got a few hands. I see a few hands. Yeah. Yeah. So it is an interesting thing. One thing I wanted to do is pull up our little survey, but I'll do that in a minute. So about that chapter, the accident, kind of getting into it, the accidental library marketer. Can anybody share an experience that they've had that's similar when they felt like they kind of fell into where they weren't at first? Can somebody share that experience? That would be really cool.
Marcia here. I'll share.
Hey, Marcia. Yeah.
Because the story in the book sounded just like me, but I started out at my current library in Tenafly, New Jersey, as a children's room assistant, and as I finished my MLS degree just recently, there was a position open for assistant director, which that's what I applied for. And in there was advertising, marketing, promotion. And the funny thing about it is the director said to me, well, that's just in there because nobody else does it. And yes, I do it. Like I do all of those things plus the other things. And so I thought that was just exactly as Kathy said in the book, it's like, well, we know we need to do it, but we don't have enough people. And those people have to do other things. So somebody just kind of do it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I hear that too. I see that too. I see it in the book. In the book, it talks about different different ways of falling into it. Sometimes, like I said, it's kind of it says in the book, as being the helpful person and trying to figure out your way through. Are there any library directors here today? I know that's again another role that often, like you said, Marcia, even the assistant director or something. Anybody in library directors that can share their experiences? I'm not sure if I see anybody by name, but I know there are some that have attended, but I don't see any today. So that's okay. Nobody's volunteering. That's all right. So when we get into the next section of the book and talks about kind of that marketing from intro to expert, something, Kathy, that I thought was a great theme throughout the book was this asking the customer what they want. So a very common thing that a lot of times we talk about, hey, what do you think? Hey, what do you think? Hey, what do you think? And it's like, well, that's great and all, but can we ask the customer what we want? What other things, as far as the, marketing advice and marketing planning and those kind of things in the book? Anybody have anything to share about that, or just anything else that you liked about the book that you wanted to share that the book kind of got to you? Tammy, were you?
Yeah. So I've read the book a couple of times, and still I've been working at the library for about 8 years, but I'm not a librarian. But what I'm finding is, like, I help with the promotions, and I push everything out onto social media and the website, but I don't plan any events, or so I rely on the other staff to make sure that they know their audience, and I hope that they have it right, and I hope the messages that they're creating are right. And then, so there's a little bit of a disconnect for me. I wonder if anybody else is like that, because, there's disconnect between me and the customer and the library staff. And, because there's a lot, there's children's, teens, adults programs, everything's going on, and I can't figure out what everybody wants or does.
Yeah, who else feels that that kind of Lori? Hey, Lori.
Hi, I do. So I am actually a marketing and communications specialist for a library system. Never been working in the library world before. I thought I was going to give a bunch of people heart attacks when I started. And it was my second week. I said, I haven't been to the library since high school. So I thought I'm the best person to market to those who don't know about the libraries. But not only do you need to know your customer at the library level, I need to know my customer at the library system level. And it's really hard to pull information even from the librarians or the library directors. Especially now, I just have a feeling they're just trying to stay above water right now, and they don't have time to listen to, how I can help them, because that just means more work for them in their mind. So it's really hard to even be there to help them or do it for them when they think, nope, that just means more work for me. Come to me next year. And then next year comes, come to me next year. So I feel your pain.
Yeah, that is that. No, Lori, that's great. And that is the other side, I think, of a lot of folks in this group too. Some of us are the accidental part of us might be a little bit more library than marketers. So we may have come from other industries, and that's kind of
exactly
thing.
I came from business to business, that was my background, and I know how to do all the technical and the statistics and everything, but it doesn't matter if you have nobody working with you and feeding you information that you need as well.
Yeah. Lori, go ahead.
I just have a thought, and I know it sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. We put out a survey. Yeah. We've gotten 4 answers. It's been out there for like 6 months. But I wonder if you put Lori, if you would put a little survey together, maybe just, short few minutes time. Could you just give me a few minutes of your time and figure out, what helps you, what that you need to do. They don't need to have the total conversation. Maybe a few short answers will really tell you exactly what they need, that they don't know what they need. It's almost like a reference interview too.
Right. Yep. And I did try that.
Okay. And that didn't work.
It is more like on a technical level. So like one part of the survey, but I did find that when it comes from the top down and more of like, this is a priority, do this. That's a good starting point. Very good starting point. It's just, remembering that they might not look at the marketing person as someone, they're just another person I'm getting emails from. But if it's someone who they sort of report to indirectly, yeah, sometimes you have to go that route. So I do, and I put people on the spot during directors meetings and just reminder, I didn't hear from you and you and you, and that kind of helps sometimes.
Yeah. Kathy, what kind of, Laura, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say quick thing. We have a newsletter. I put it out for the law firms in the area, and I actually had a law librarian who has been using us for years says, I never open it. I'm just like, what?
That can happen. Yeah.
How do you know what we're doing? And how do you know how to help the attorneys that you're working for? We may have some CLE programs, continuing legal education. You aren't even going to know about it. Yeah. So it's frustrating. I think that's the hardest part about marketing is not necessarily the ideas and the other, the work behind it. There's a lot of work behind it, but it's getting people to engage. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's great, Lori. Kathy, what kind of advice would you have about those things? So about both, I would say, like Lori was saying, getting people to engage. And then the other part, which is, I know it's in the book a little bit, but it'd be great to hear from you about, marketing and how you handle when you're not the one that's in control of planning the, say, program or product, what kind of things. So yeah, anything you can share on that?
Well, if I had my way, I would talk to all the library directors and say, look, damn it, marketing, 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 marketing. It just, and I know that, I don't know if you know that old saying that if the only tool you have is a hammer, then everything looks like a nail. So for me, if the main tool I have is marketing, everything looks like something that should be marketed. But what really frustrates me that directors and administrators don't often understand is that everything should come from marketing because I say so, but really because marketing is not about sales. Everyone thinks, oh, sales and marketing. I'm pushing stuff at people. But I see Angela. But marketing is really about service.
Sir.
Preach, sister, preach.
I saw you guys are advertising for people.
And yeah, and it starts from good marketing starts by finding out what people need and what they want. And that should be at the core of everything the library does, because how do you know what collections to buy? How do you know what databases to buy? How do you know how to arrange your rooms? Do you need more space for the children's room? I don't know. Is there a baby boom in your area? Like, every single thing that the library does, I wish would come from evidence-based data, which means asking people first, and not just the individuals, but, you know, talking to your, the people who run your university or the city and county planners in your town. You know, they are trying to find out, is there going to be a baby boom soon? Do we need to build another elementary school soon? Do we need this or that? And all of this, ideally, in my fantasy world, should come together to inform what the library does for people. And if you give them what they need, then half of your promotional work is done, because everyone says, oh, look, I needed that thing and the library has it. Yay. And I'm still working toward that. I'm still working to, you know, get all the directors to listen to me and do what I say.
Yeah.
You know, we had a situation at the beginning of the year. We spent a month with a live strategic planning survey, and you know, our service area is like 22,000 people, and we got 250 responses on the strategic planning survey.
Not terrible.
The vast majority of those were very much in favor of us building a new, larger, more expanded main branch. But golly, if as soon as that survey was closed, all of these people who don't want us to move from our current location started having this huge hissy fit about us moving to, you know, somewhere that's not the center of town, and that's not, and it's like, why didn't you fill out the survey? Why? You had a month. You could have, you know, and I mean, it was everywhere. We posted, we had stuff everywhere about it. But yeah, no, they just didn't do that. But I also wanted to say, Kathy, thank you for writing this, because, and we read some really, really good books in this group, but so many of them are for marketing in the for-profit world. And it's really, some of those lessons and things are hard to adapt to a nonprofit library kind of scenario. So when it's coming from the inside, it's really appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, Kathy, you had some really great things in the book about that kind of, I really like that they equated, or they kind of seemed like that, you know, they put the library world in on the same in the same scope, I guess, as a profit business. So things like library value calculator, and which is still out there. I think the links in the book may be in like the Kindle version of the book. The links in the book are not quite all you know, updated, but you can still find them out there, the library value calculator. So Kathy, what things would you say as far as, like, how to apply, marketing principles that are from the the for-profit world, or how to look at the library when you're marketing in the context of things you might see in the for-profit world.
Good question, Chris. Maybe too good. I think part of that is just getting the people around you, again, to value the fact that you have to do marketing. There are a lot of people who, if you say, well, libraries are a business, they freak out.
Right.
However, I point out that you hire people, you have a budget, you have a building, you have a website, all these things you're taking care of just like any business. The only difference is that you are more focused on giving value to people than to making the profit yourself. That's really the only difference. So when, I've dealt with people who said, advertising, we could never advertise. I said, well, why not? Do you have products and services? Do you have things that are underused? Do you know there are people out there who need these things that you have? Why aren't you advertising? And of course, it comes down to money. But there are ways, there are places you can get semi-free ads and partnerships where you can do in-kind advertising. And there's also something I've been talking a little more about in the past couple of years are the Google ad grants, where you can, which Chris, I know you've done, where you can sign up for a program and Google, out of the goodness of its heart, excuse me there, Google will give you $10,000 worth of free advertising per month that can show up right at the top of Google search results when people search for things that you have. So I have been having a few more advertising articles in Marketing Library Services recently. And I know a lot of people too have done that with grants. Write a grant specifically for 1 year's worth of advertising, which, not just your local newspaper, but if you're in a city, especially wraps for a bus or just transit ads, public transit ads are seen by thousands of people. And if you can write a grant to get a bunch of books or to buy a new database, why can't you do it to advertise? Because my bottom line is always, you spend tens of thousands of dollars, maybe hundreds of thousands on all the books and the databases and the subscriptions and your canopy and your hoopla, and then you spend zero to tell people that you've bought all these things for them. And it's completely nonsensical.
That is the thing. I know it's it's difficult to look at that advertising and advertising spend and how that's going to go, and it can be a little disheartening because advertising isn't always the direct response, but it's if you have the opportunity, it's good. You have a lot of great another great thing in the book is about working with media and getting earned media and how to do that. And it's really neat in there. So but first, before I go there, I want to say Linda Salhammer had a couple good questions. In the comments, she mentioned about more UX in libraries. So you have definitely user design, and Linda mentions this design thinking for libraries that Linda actually introduced me to when she came over here a few years ago. So yeah, definitely, I highly recommend that everybody check out Design Thinking for Libraries. It's a program that you can get the information online, and it's really a wonderful. It's a wonderful resource, and it's a wonderful way of doing some very interesting user experience work very cheaply and very fast, and kind of getting it set up, and then and testing, and it's like really rapid testing. So it's a very, very neat concept. And then also, like Linda was saying, good to collect data, but then you need to analyze it, right? So what is the data telling us? And so no, that's very, very good comments. Linda, and we have some links in there too, and everybody will get a copy of this if I can find you after the the survey, after the meeting. But Kathy, the other thing that I did want to mention real quickly, unless somebody has another point, I haven't seen anybody, but please jump in, is about media and talking with media. So, you had a lot of stuff in there about how to connect with the media and how to get that earned media. And then there was the article in the appendix that also talked about treating your media contacts as a key audience. So, so not just sending, and you said this and they said this, not just sending every media thing, like every press release or everything to everybody, but really looking at that. Can you talk a little bit about that, Kathy, about, what you found successful in connecting with media?
Well, I was in a great position to do this book because I'm also part of the media and have been parts of other librarianship is not my first role. And in fact, I do not have an MLS, which I will admit, if anyone out there is listening, so you can definitely do this from the point of view of marketing. But my degree originally was in journalism. And so I learned a lot about how to reach the media and how not to reach the media and how to make them angry and how to make them happy. And I hate to sound like a broken record, but as with so many other things, it comes down to relationships. If you are in a position where you are just pushing your press releases and your information out at people all the time, sit back for a minute and think about the people who you're pushing it upon. Why should they care? The why is always a huge question. And that goes into why not to send every press release to every media outlet, because for some of them, it really doesn't matter. And as someone in the media who has received what feels like a bazillion press releases in my lifetime, when I'm taking that 10 seconds to look at the press release, my first question is, why should do my readers care? And why should I care? And if they don't, then bye-bye. So that's part of it. But the relationship building is also seeing media people out at an event. You probably go around your community not just as a library person, but perhaps as just an everyday human being. And you see the media people out there, you see the ones with their notepads and the photographers with their cameras. And it's nice just to kind of go up to them at a not terribly busy time when the keynoter is speaking or something, and just say, hey, I see you're out here for X paper, and that's cool. And I read that. And I appreciate you covering library things sometimes, and just have a little, hello, friendly relationship. And it does make a little bit of a difference next time they get a press release from you and see your name on it, like, oh, that's an actual real person. Like, she really reads my paper or listens to my radio station or whatever. So just being more than a name on a press release really does help. And then the person who I know of who is excellent at this is Trenton Smiley from Capital Area District Libraries in Michigan. And he's written a couple articles about that. And he's extra good because he used to be a media, like a big, media, radio and TV person. And so he knows how to talk to them and how to make deals and how to say, oh, look, summer reading is coming up in, 3 months. You have to give them time. And gosh, we would really love it if some of your media personalities would mention summer reading on the news. And for no money, sometimes they'll sit there at the beginning of a segment and say, oh, summer's here. And, hopefully you're all doing summer reading at the library for your kids. And speaking of kids, and then they'll go into their next story, kind of the segue. So just relationships and requesting them to do it can get really influential people who are in your target audience's living rooms every day to mention what you're doing. And you can't really put a price on that.
Yeah, our biggest challenge with that, in my particular district, is that within about a 30-mile radius, we have a dozen different library systems. Because, because we are right outside Peoria.
Oh, okay.
Peoria has a library. Peoria Heights has a library. East Peoria has a library. Bartonville has a library. Tremont, Morton, Woodford County, and we are all of us are within the same set of newspapers and TV stations, and so I can't say just, oh, come to the library. You have to come to Woodford County to go to the library, and so trying to get targeted into this particular library is really difficult. So because as far as programming and things like that, we're competing with a dozen other systems.
Does your group of systems ever kind of put things together in one
Absolutely.
pitch for the media?
Absolutely. We've do a lot of different partnership programs, especially over the past year with some of the Zoom stuff. We'll do something, rather than one system spending $2,500, 6 of us will get together and we'll split it and we'll do one Zoom and market it to all of our people, but then, we're divvying it up, and one person is doing all of the print design, and one person is doing all the graphics, and one, so we kind of firm it out that way too.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's really good. There's that's great, Donna. Thanks for sharing that experience. There's some good things in the chat too. I see people talking about watching, reading, and listening to what the reporter's doing, and that's in the book. I'm kind of eating my microphone because I heard my voice was pretty low before. And so Mary said we invited one of the local newscasters to do a story time, and that's another great way. If you have that opportunity to invite them in to participate in a program. And then Angela, another ex-journalist or journalist turned marketer, also said, keep in mind the audience that you're pitching, because some people will say like, oh yeah, we don't really, we don't really have people, that fit some things, whatever they're talking about may not fit all of your programming. So it may not fit the children's programming. They may be looking for other audiences. So, being more conscious. And like I said, that's in the book too, is about, being conscientious of what your reporters are talking about, and then how it kind of helps them get more engaged with the library. And like you're saying, Kathy, it doesn't make them feel like they're just another person receiving every other press release. I've even varied the approaches from press release to personal emails to, sometimes just copying them on some of our program emails, and, varying up that. And again, trying to attune it to them has really kind of helped everybody do everything. So Lori, I think you had a comment. Lori Hagan. Yeah, I think you had a comment.
You're good. I had a V8 moment just there with you because we just had our we had our 150th anniversary, and Shannon Perrine is a local reporter. Her great-great-grandfather was the head of this library years ago. And so she came and we had media, we had the whole thing. Do you think I've used her for anything else? Nah. So here's the deal. We're just in the midst of starting to do community outreach. We're trying to help people to understand what the courts are and how, legal terminology, all that stuff. So who better to talk to Shannon and say, hey, do you mind saying something about this?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, it's a great opportunity.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's easy to forget those. It's very easy to forget.
It was like, it was so important because she used to come in and look at the picture, and I'd take a picture of her with the painting.
Right,
Like,
right.
totally forget about it, you know.
It's easy to
Lori,
do.
it's what around here we call the journey effect. We had at a local regional marketers group meeting for library marketers, we had somebody talk about this program that they had put on and how successful it was, and how they had this massive turnout, and how, you know, everybody was coming out to see their guest speaker, who was a personal friend of this particular marketer, who just happens to have been in Journey
Oh,
for
wow.
years and years and years.
Funny.
And it's like, okay, that's great. I don't know anybody in Journey. I can't get them to come to my library. But if it's using those connections that you do have, we have a close personal friend of our families who is a performing Vegas magician. I mean, he has a residency in Vegas. And last year, when everything was locked down and he couldn't perform anywhere, and he did a whole series of teach a trick videos for our library, where, you know, that you go out to our website and you can click on the link, and he demonstrates the trick and then shows you how to make the trick using a cereal box, or, you know, whatever and stuff you have around the house, how you can, you know, do all this, and it's geared directly for kids. But, you know, it's kind of thinking outside the box and looking at those connections that, you know, you have on this side, but how can you bring them over and make them work within your library?
Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, it's good example, Donna, of that. Yeah, of trying to find out. You never know where those connections are going to come from. Ashley, you had something to share.
Yes. So, you know, my position's a bit split into different roles, but basically, I'm at a state agency.
Okay.
A state library agency. We are the grant people. And then underneath that, there's the Library for the Blind, which is my wheelhouse, but I also do all the marketing and outreach and public relations, website design, graphic design, all of that for the agency as a whole, plus all the same stuff for the sub part of it. My issue is that because we are statewide, I'm having a hard time building connections to our media representatives. I can get the local people here in Baltimore, that's not a problem. But I can't put in physical FaceTime as often as I'd like by stopping by a local news organization or a local station. And because we're a government agency, I have certain rules I have to follow. And one of them is that we cannot pay for advocacy or advertisement, which is funny because I see commercials for other state agencies all the time. But we have to run them under a PSA, which still costs money, but they get the crappier slots. So I'm looking for advice from this group and from Kathy, of course, on how do I, at the state level, connect with the media, and how do I ensure that, I mean, because I feel like I do have to do that blanket spread of press releases, that blanket spread of tagging people, you know, because we aren't just local to one community, we are statewide.
Yeah, that's a good question. One thing that Angela, I know, had said in the comments before, had pointed out is another way to solve the media problem is to have a library blog, because the blog can become your own media outlet, and then that's a good way to kind of share that. I mean, Angela, I don't know, do you want to expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, before I worked at Novelist, I worked at the Public Library of Cincinnati and Hamilton County, and the media market here in Cincinnati is a train wreck. They will only cover anything happening at your library if there's blood involved, which we don't want, of course. And the newspaper wanted us to pay for coverage, and it's incredibly expensive because it's a large city. So our solution was to start a blog on our own library webpage, and we wrote our own news stories, basically. So we're not if you look at the blog, it's not so much about like this program is happening on this day. It is like actual news, like what you would want a news station to cover. Wrote them, posted on our own website, and then used those posts, share them on Facebook, share them on LinkedIn, of all crazy places, but that worked really, really well. And what then started to happen is that reporters were reading those posts and then coming to us and saying, this sounds like a really great story, because we basically already wrote it for them. And so sometimes I think with good news stories that come from libraries, they have a hard time seeing what it's going to look like in its finished products, because they're so used to doing the blood and gut stories. So writing it out for them and showing them how great it would be, and how like people are commenting on it from the community and really getting into it, that's another great way of doing it. And it's on your own property. So then if you have a newsletter, you can promote it in a newsletter, and you can talk to people about it at point of service in your building. So that's basically the story behind the Cincinnati blog. We got frustrated. We wrote our own stories. The end.
Now we had started a blog for the one side because newsletters weren't working for blind patrons. It was a listserv. They didn't want to be a part of it, and back and forth. So we came up with a blog just for the Library for the Blind. That is wildly successful among our patrons. It is written like a blog.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing you say is retool that idea, write them more as news stories, and possibly expand it overall to the agency as a whole, rather than just as a segmented piece. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. I love that idea.
Yeah, that sounds
Also, send me a link when you do it, because I want to see it.
Yeah, definitely. Keep us. Yeah. Anybody else have any advice?
Well, I was just, Kathy just posted it in the chat, but yeah, if you could link with anybody like at the state legislative level to have them become a partner / advocate for your group, for whether it's for the parent agency or for the Library for the Blind or something, because if they jump onto that, then the media is going to cover them because they are a legislator, and whether it's, oh, hey, Representative so-and-so is just, he's giving his press conference from our agency, or he's going to be speaking from this location within our agency, and that kind of thing. Even if it has nothing to do with anything that's going on at your library, if the mayor wants to say, oh, well, I'm going to be at the library and y'all can come and talk to me there. Hey, that's getting it on par with you.
Yeah, it's a great idea. It definitely helps if you have the voice of the people that are speaking to other people, and if you can connect to there. We'll take a look. I recommend again taking a look at the chat, which I will share out. But Ashley mentions, or not Ashley, I'm sorry, but Hannah and Rachel both talk about how their blog has been really helpful. So Ashley, I'd recommend that you check out those blogs. Angela said she's been stalking Rachel's blog, so definitely a good one to check out. I think, and Tara mentioned, providing people B-roll to make it easy for the media. So yeah, and I agree, Tara. I think, is it Tara? I think Tara, I'm right. It's row T. Yes. So. But Tara said, yeah, providing them with B-roll, providing them with images, providing them with, things from your library, make it as easy as you can to make it worth their while. So, so excellent. And Linda says, have a special audio magazine for patrons who have a hard time reading. And so, if you have, like you said, Ashley, you have the Library for the Blind, and that can help promote the library to that group for sure. So, Kathy, we got Donna, go ahead.
Well, I'm gonna put in some very shameless self-promotion here.
Sure.
I'm part of a group in Illinois it's called the My Library Is campaign.
Yep.
And we are actually embarking on creating a royalty-free image library, just like Pixabay or Pexels, that is specifically for libraries.
Great.
And even more specifically for smaller libraries. Because,
Nice.
if you go out to Pixabay or Pexels or if you just type in library, you get Trinity Library in Dublin, which is gorgeous, but it has nothing to do with my 1,000 square foot, little library in Washburn.
Yeah, if you could share that in the chat, Donna, some information or on the Facebook group, that would be awesome. We're running a little low on time. We're getting near the end. Kathy, thank you again for being here, and anything else you want to share before we do our little drawing and take off?
I just want to thank everyone again. I'm so happy to see a bunch of people here that I know, and also some friends I haven't made yet. And since we're shamelessly self-promoting,
yes, please.
I would hope that people would take a look at marketing library services, because so many of the questions that you're asking, there are articles in here. I attend things like this, and when a lot of people ask how to do a certain thing, I find someone who's done it well and get them to write a case study. So it is a subscription publication, but on the website we share one article from each issue for free, and you can also see the TOC and see what's been covered to see if it's worthwhile for you, because I just want to get as much marketing info out to library people as possible.
Yeah, that's awesome, Kathy. Thank you so much for being here. So valuable. And yes, please, everybody, check out Marketing Library Services. Really, really good newsletter, and well worth it. Absolutely fantastic. So last thing we do is so next month we have our we will be talking about 18 Minutes from Peter Bregman, and one of my favorite kind of time management and focus books. So for everybody that's still here, which looks like we got a pretty good crowd. So Kathy, who won the book, and Kathy, who volunteered to buy the copy for, which very nice. Thank you, Kathy, to volunteer to buy the copy for the next winner. That's been a really fun, nice chain everybody's done. So Kathy, and since you're our author, let's see, pick out a number between 1 and 28.
I'm gonna pick something wacky like 23.
Okay, let's see. There's 4. Now I gotta count all these. 8 and 15. So number 23 that I have here is Marta. So congratulations, Marta. And Marta Castanier, I don't know if or Castanier, I'm not sure if I'm saying your last name correctly, but congratulations. And you will win a copy of the 18 Minutes book. We'll make sure to get your contact information so that we can, or whatever format you prefer the book, we'll get that out to you. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining the meeting today, and thank you again, Kathy, for being here. It's wonderful, so wonderful. We're so lucky to have the author here, and it was really great, really valuable. If you haven't read the book yet, or if you need to read it again, please do. It's an awesome book. And thank you all so much. We will I will see you on Facebook and on email, and then otherwise I'll see you all next month. Thanks. Bye.